Hi, I'm Katrina from Unity of New Orleans. Welcome to our Sunday service. We are so happy to have you here with us today. And we would like to begin with our invocation, which is written by Unity co-founder Charles Fillmore. We are now in the presence of pure being and immersed in the Holy Spirit of life, love, and wisdom. We acknowledge thy presence and thy power, O blessed Spirit. In thy divine wisdom, now erase our mortal limitations, and from thy pure substance of love, bring us into manifestation according to thy perfect law. And the Lord's Prayer. Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done, on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our trespasses, as we forgive those who trespass against us. And leave us not in temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom, and the power, and the glory, forever. Amen. So, anybody feeling uncertain these days? I know I am. And if you've been watching the news, you also might be feeling a little stressed or worried or anxious about what is happening with the rising COVID rates or the situation in Afghanistan. Whatever it is, life feels very uncertain right now. And for most of us, it's anxiety provoking. Now, here at Unity, we teach positive and practical spiritual principles. But that is not to negate the experience that you're having or what you're feeling. Actually, we believe that we are here on this planet to experience being fully human and fully divine. So we celebrate our humanity, and then we embrace what it is to know that we are divine beings. So while it might feel uncomfortable to be in this space of uncertainty right now, this place of unknown, the truth is that quantum physics and spiritual principles teach us that this is actually where the possibilities lie and where the potential is. So that unknown space, which we might call the void, is where infinite potential exists. So our need for certainty can provoke anxiety because having this idea that life is predictable leaves us outside of this realm of creativity and inspiration. And so being in the void frees us from that determinism, and it allows us to be in the flow of infinite possibilities. And from that void, we can create our own heaven or hell, which in Unity we know is a state of consciousness. Now, it might feel challenging to you, but perhaps it's time to let go of those long-held beliefs or the anxiety or the old programs and embrace a new and more empowering perspective. And so my goal here today is just to help you to re-envision your world and to inspire you with some insights and skills to navigate your life without fear and to help you feel more self-empowered. And this is for your personal transformation, not just for your information. So we're going to take a look at the standard worldview of reality. We're going to look at the quantum worldview, and then we're going to examine how to apply these quantum principles and spiritual principles into our lives. So are you ready? Okay. Much of this inspiration is taken from the book called The Possibility Principle by a psychotherapist named Mel Schwartz. here's the standard worldview of reality. It's really been dominated by reason and faith, which is based on the teachings of the Roman Catholic Church, and also the developments in physics and astronomy and math by the scientific masterminds like Copernicus and Kepler and Galileo and Descartes. But this led to a reliance on analytical thinking and reasoning and math. And then Isaac Newton came along and he furthered the work of Descartes, and he depicted the world like this great machine, which really created this mechanistic paradigm. And his vision dominated science and philosophy for a long time, really until quantum physics came along. This mechanistic worldview states that the world consists of separate and inert objects that are disconnected from one another and are really only interacting with each other based on cause and effect. Now, when we look at the world like a giant machine, we just become cogs in the machine, and we're detached and disconnected from each other and from the universe at large. So this idea of separation that is really at the core of this Newtonian worldview keeps us isolated and in competition with each other. And rather than collaborating for the common good and having compassion for each other, we believe we're separate. And this actually breeds competition and conflict rather than cooperation. Now, along with this mechanistic worldview is this idea of determinism, which is that we can predict the future based on our present circumstances. And determinism actually drives us to seek certainty. And then we'll try to avoid the uncertain because it provokes fear and anxiety. But determinism actually separates us from our inherent creativity and from the inspiration that comes from the source and from our own intuition. So if you remember a few weeks ago, I talked about the illusion of separation, which is what we're taught from the beginning of our lives. We're taught to identify with our gender, our name, our body, our culture, heritage, religion, etc., etc. We're taught that we're separate from each other. We learn about our personality, which is who we think and feel we are. And we identify with the ego, which Mr. Fillmore said is the false state of consciousness. And so basically our family, religion, culture, education teaches us how life works. And then we kind of do what we think we're supposed to do, right? So contemplate for a moment, in the environment that you were raised, did you take the path that was scripted for you? Or did you write your own story? You know, this reminds me of a story about a caged bird. And there was a bird who lived in this cage for a very long time, and it would often look through the bars of the cage out the window and look at the trees and the meadow in the distance and watch the other birds flying free in the open air. And the bird in the cage would wonder what it felt like to have the sun on its back and the wind in its wings. And when that bird thought of these things, it would feel a little excited, and it would sit a little taller on its perch and breathe deeply into its belly and feel a sense of thrill and possibility. And now sometimes another bird would land on the windowsill, and it would look in through the window at the bird in the cage, kind of quizzically with its head cocked, like, what is there a bird doing in a cage? Like, this is unimaginable. And when that would happen, the bird in the cage would feel miserable. It would sort of slump forward and have this sinking feeling in its heart. And well, one day, the owner left the cage open, and the bird sat there looking through the cage door, and it saw the other birds outside flying free, and the sun was shining on their feathers, and the wind carried them up to the sky. And then the caged bird noticed that the window was cracked just enough for it to get out, and it felt a little excitement at the possibility of freedom. And while it sat there contemplating what would it do, the sun began to set, and before long the owner came home, and seeing the cage door open, closed the door, and there was this bird in the cage who decided that predictability and the known was valued over the uncertain and the possibility of freedom. So let me ask you, are you a caged bird? Or have you chose freedom? You know, I shared with you last time that I was raised in a Mormon family, and I very much respect my family. But let me tell you, I chose freedom. The path for me in my lineage was to get married and have children and be a mother and a homemaker and a housekeeper and a wife, and all of that just wasn't the path that I wanted to take. And so I flew out of my cage at a very young age. I was 17, and I came to New Orleans when I was 19. And now New Orleans was the furthest away, both geographically and culturally, from where I was raised that I could get. But it was this place of possibility, and it was exotic and exciting, and I knew that this is where I belonged. Okay, the void, this place of uncertainty, it's full of possibilities. So I want you to start to embrace being in a place of uncertainty. And now let's look at the quantum worldview. So quantum physics is a science that looks at the smallest ingredients of the universe on a quantum level. And contrary to Newton's determinism, one of the core principles of quantum physics is that uncertainty is the fabric of the quantum world. Uncertainty is the very fabric of the cosmos, because that's where the possibilities lie. And so by embracing the unknown, it frees us from this contained existence in which a mechanistic world keeps us caged and imprisoned. So let's look at these quantum principles. It states that the universe exists in a state of pure potential. And uncertainty actually implies potentiality. And that's where all outcomes are possible. So this really makes our reality more like a reality-making process rather than a fixed state of being. So here we can enter into the flow of possibility. And rather than being cogs in the machine, we become the creators of our destinies. You know, last time we also discussed that we are fundamentally inseparable, that everything is interconnected, and that we are an integral part of everything and everyone. And realizing this gives us a sense of oneness and meaning and purpose and compassion and empathy. For everything we see and experience is a manifestation of this eternal oneness. You are literally made from the same stardust as the sun and the planets and the moon. And that source that animates your life is the same source that animates all of creation. So that God source in you is the same as the God source in me, which is the same source that we see in nature. And unity is the song of life. It is the grand theme that is underlying all of the rich variations that exist throughout the cosmos. Now, when we understand that we are a part of the universe, we stop feeling limited by determinism, and instead we become conscious participants in creating our lives. So we stop being defined by this fixed material reality, and instead we choose to reside in this state of potentiality. And this perception allows us to imagine the possibilities that are out there for us, so that we can break free of those old patterns and habits and instead become masters of our own reality. We can be liberated from predictability, and that opens the door to our potential and our personal growth. For in the quantum view, consciousness is the fundamental basis of reality. Consciousness is the basis of reality, not matter. And from this we can understand that we live in a participatory world. So reality is not fixed, it's objective. And then when we shift from this mechanistic view to a participatory view, life is really full of potential and possibility. There are infinite possibilities available to you. So this idea that consciousness is the foundation of reality, this is what Mr. Fillmore taught. He said, everything begins with thought. And this is important because there's no limit to what we can do if we begin with the right state of mind. You see, it was the one who first conquered the self, the mind, who really conquered the world. And thought is the manifestation of everything, or the foundation of everything that we manifest in our lives. Mr. Fillmore said, you are in what you built. You built the temple, you built the mind. As you think, so will you be. For God is mind. The void is full of possibilities. So how do we apply these quantum principles? Well, first, there is this commonly held belief that it's hard to change. And we do tend to get stuck in our patterns and our outdated ways of thinking, or, maybe we're just doing what our family taught us to do. Now, Newton's first law of motion stated that an object at rest stays at rest, and an object in motion stays in motion unless acted upon by some outside force, which teaches us that we can't move or stop or change directions unless there's some outside force. So then change becomes hard, and then it becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy. But according to quantum physics, reality appears to be perpetually creating itself, and it's constantly engaged in movement and creation. So nothing is actually fixed or inert, but everything is part of this eternal dance of consciousness and energy. And we are co-creating our reality. So we can join the flow of possibilities and free ourselves from limitation and predictability, because truly reality requires our participation. The void is full of possibilities. Now, if you want to free yourself from those old patterns and confining beliefs, consider this possibility principle. In that little nanosecond between one thought and the next, you are in a state of pure potential. Now, once you attach to that next thought, you create your reality in the next moment. So if you continue with those self-limiting thoughts and beliefs, you remain stuck, caged, confined to those old patterns. But when we open our minds to possibility, we are available to insight and wisdom that comes from within. To put it simply, the thought that we engage summons our reality of the next moment. So we can continue to repeat the old familiar thoughts, or we can step forward into the realm of potential and consciously create our next thought, our next experience, and our life. Now, this is not to suggest that we suppress what we're feeling or avoid the past or, forget about the painful memories, but rather we want to bring them to the light and process them so that we can be free from the heavy emotions and the trauma that's associated with them. But our goal is eventually to release them and to find forgiveness for ourselves and others. For life is a school. Everything is here for you to teach you for your soul's evolution. Now, if we continue to perseverate on the same habitual thoughts, we actually re-traumatize ourselves. And we perpetuate the sadness and the anger and the fear that is generated from the past. And you are truly more than your past experiences. I don't care what has happened in your life or what you've done. You are not defined by your past. For infinite potential awaits you as you allow your true identity to evolve. So, learn to witness your thoughts, to recognize the story that you've been telling yourself, and then choose to rewrite your story and create a new experience for yourself. For that void, that space of uncertainty, is full of potential. Now, quantum physics also teaches us that everything is energy, including your thoughts and your emotions and your beliefs. So the anger, the shame, the grief, the sadness, the fear, those are low vibrational states. And it's okay if you're feeling anxious or fearful. But it's dangerous if you stay there too long. For medical science tells us these days that chronic stress is at the root of all disease. And we know here at Unity that your body responds to your thoughts and your beliefs. Remember Myrtle Fillmore's story? She was diagnosed with tuberculosis and it was terminal. But she heard, "I am a child of God and therefore I do not inherit sickness." She started talking to her body and asking forgiveness. And she healed herself miraculously and went on to live another 45 years. I mean, it's an incredible story. So talk to your body, because your cells are listening. And remember that these lower vibrational states do not exist in the upper room or in your higher self, your Buddha mind, or your Christ consciousness. But when you tune into those high vibrational states, such as joy or compassion or appreciation or excitement, you experience a more positive life. And that's why we believe in practicing gratitude and prayer and affirmation and intention. It really helps to keep your consciousness tuned up so you don't give in to the fear and the anxiety. So tune in to whatever uplifts you. This is really where it's at. If you are finding the news stressful and anxiety provoking these days, stop watching. Instead, go outside, be in nature, listen to some music or pray. Prayer is that highest state of consciousness where you uplift yourself to the higher self, the upper room. I start every day by listening to something that inspires me, whether it's a audiobook or a podcast or a lecture or some music. I start my day by listening to something positive because I know that it doesn't matter what happens that day. I'm going to be tuned up and tuned in, and it will help me to navigate the ebb and flow of life. So now, if you remember last week, Mary Beth was talking about the void, and she used the analogy of the Israelites wandering in the wilderness for 40 years after they were freed from slavery in Egypt, before they made it to the promised land. And so you may ask, why did it take 40 years of wandering in the wilderness, in the void, in that space of uncertainty? And the answer is because you cannot take the consciousness of a slave into the promised land, the upper room. So it literally took a whole generation to release those old patterns, the consciousness of slaves, before they were ready to enter into the promised land or the kingdom of heaven. Now, you don't have to do what the generation before you did. That is the moral of the story. You are writing your own story. You create your reality. And heaven is a state of consciousness that we create here on earth. So the void is full of possibilities. Now, to sum this all up, the Newtonian or the standard worldview of reality is mechanistic, and you're just a cog in this giant machine. And the belief in determinism that comes out of this mechanistic worldview drives us to seek certainty. But that also means that we try to avoid the uncertain, and so our fear and our anxiety and our stress increases when we're in an uncertain place. That determinism actually keeps us separate from our creativity and our intuition and from inspiration from the source. But the quantum worldview shows that uncertainty is the fabric of the cosmos, that the entire universe exists in this state of pure potential. And uncertainty then implies potentiality, where anything is possible, infinite possibilities. So while it may feel a little challenging, perhaps it's time to let go of those old thoughts and beliefs and programs and embrace a new, forward-thinking and empowering perspective, which we see in quantum physics and spiritual principle. For the void is full of possibilities. You are the creator of your reality. Be a conscious creator. Choose to create your own heaven here on earth. Namaste. I bow to the divine creator in you. So now let's have an experience of this in meditation. I invite you to gently close your eyes if you're comfortable, and allow your body to rest back in your chair. Now take a deep breath in. And exhale, relax even more. Releasing anything that is preoccupying you. As you enter into this present moment and feel the presence. For this pure moment is not burdened in any way. It is the very potential, the light, the joy of the divine. As you breathe in slowly, imagine that you can breathe in through your heart. And then breathe out through your heart. For in so doing, you are connecting your awareness with your heart, which is the abode of spirit. And I honor that sacred space with the very breath that is breathing you, the very breath that is breathing me, filling our sacred body temples with light. Now visualize your temple filled with luminous energy. As you let go and allow the infinite spirit of divinity fill you with light and love. And now allow yourself to receive the following affirmations. I am a conscious creator. I am creating my dream life. I am worthy of receiving my yes. Worthy of manifesting my desires. My health, my wealth, and my relationships are all coming to me in abundance. I now release everything that is not serving my highest good. The universe always has my back. I attract more joy and more love into my life every day. I am abundant and prosperous in every aspect of my life. I surround myself with positive and genuine people who help me to reach my goals. And I release any fears or limiting beliefs that I may have about achieving my dreams. Every day I am moving towards my best life. For I am smart, creative, and motivated. My intentions for my life are clear. I receive all that I am worthy of. I am creating a life of passion and purpose. I am comfortable with the unknown because that is where the possibilities are. I relax with change and new environments. I love myself. I believe in myself. I release all negative self-talk. I receive abundance in expected and unexpected ways. I act on inspiration and insight, and I trust my inner guidance. I am creating my life according to my beliefs. I am constantly raising my vibration with positive thoughts, words, and actions. I am making a meaningful contribution to the world. I am the creator of my life experience. In raising my vibration, I attract all that I desire. I am worthy of love, abundance, success, happiness, and fulfillment. I am grateful for the wonderful blessings in my life. I wake up each morning with a grateful heart and an open mind. I attract positive circumstances and people into my life. I believe in myself. Everywhere I look, I see opportunities. My life is filled with joy and abundance. I am a magnet for prosperity and happiness. I am the creator of my reality. I appreciate all that I have. I am open and ready to attract more joy, more love, and more peace into my life. The more I give, the more I receive. I am confident, powerful, and successful. I am love. I am a conscious creator. And as you behold these infinite truths, as you stand in this inner knowingness, there are no conditions that can change this living truth. So know in this moment that the divine, the God seed in you, is established to grow and to flourish. And you are becoming more and more that which the divine created you to be. And as the energy of spiritual awareness grows within you, you can only succeed at becoming all that the divine has ordained you to be. And as we evolve in this inner knowing and find oneness with the divine, the bounty of spirit manifests through us. Let the peace of these realizations wash over you. And we will close today with a prayer for protection written by James Dillett Freeman. The light of God surrounds me. I am the light. The love of God enfolds me. I am the love. The power of God protects me. I am the power. The presence of God watches over me. I am the presence. Wherever I am, God is, and I am safe and secure. All is well. And the Lord watches between me and thee, while we are absent one from the other, and helps us to know that we are one in spirit. And so it is. Namaste. Amen.